All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Derek. Welcome to our monthly Intelligence for Admins webinar. I lead our customer education department here at TrackVia. It's good to have you. I've also got Jeremiah with us today, one of our amazing CSMs. I'll let Jeremiah say hello.
Yes, hey everyone. Really excited to be here. Really excited to hear about everyone's use cases and kind of dig into the different ways we're using TrackVia.
Yeah, should be awesome. For those of you who joined in the past, we we cover a lot of different topics in these webinars, from dashboard design to new features to app scripts, everything in between. Today we're doing something a little bit different, which I'm excited for. We're just going to be talking to each other in a kind of a round table type webinar to talk to each other about our apps and the applications that we've created. I think actually probably my favorite part about working at TrackVia is that I get to see all the really cool applications that our customers build, and how how they use it in their organizations, how it helps them. I love that. I love to see those stories, hear those stories. And I'm excited about today's webinar because I hope that a few of you, at least a few of you, will share your own applications to share with each other the ways that you're using TrackVia. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to flip to the next slide here in this PowerPoint presentation. We're just going to talk about the way that we're going to run today's session. Okay, so we've got some rules that we want to try to follow today. Not really rules, just guiding principles here. So anybody on the line today? So I see a bunch of attendees. This is awesome. Anyone can share, okay, or not. If you don't want to share and you're not comfortable sharing, that's fine. It's up to you. However, the more folks that we get to share, I think the more successful, more beneficial this webinar will be, right? So we strongly urge you to share if you want, okay? When you share, okay, you're not going to be doing any video or screen sharing. Really simple here. We're just going to keep it easy, just audio, okay? So you can come off a mute and you can tell the rest of the attendees about the applications that you've built in TrackVia, okay? Or you just use in TrackVia, right? Maybe you didn't build it, maybe you just use it, that's fine too, okay? For anybody that shares today, or at least the first 10 people, you're gonna get a chance to spin the prize wheel, which will be fun. All right, we've got this wheel that Jeremiah and I created that has a bunch of prizes on it. I'll show you here in a second what that prize wheel looks like. But if you share, you get to spin the wheel and you'll get something, okay? Some really cool stuff. And of course, we're opening this up for everyone to speak, anyone that wants to, so please be respectful of anybody that's presenting, okay? All right, so those are the rules. Let's talk about the format, all right? So everybody is on mute right now. Everybody's muted. And if you want to share, if you're willing to tell the rest of the attendees about an application that you have built within TrackVia, you can use the raise hand feature of the GoToWebinar, okay? So you should be able to find a little button that looks like a hand. If you click it, it'll raise your hand, and that's how we'll know, that's our indication to Jeremiah and I that you're willing to speak up, okay? After you raise your hand, we'll kind of pick somebody to go, and then we'll unmute you, okay? We will unmute you. And then you can tell us a little bit about yourself and your organization, right? Who you are, who you work for. If you're not comfortable, stating your organization or anything like that, that's totally fine as well. You can kind of keep that to yourself. You can just talk about some of the apps, okay? So after you tell us who you are, tell us about the apps that you use in TrackVia or you've built in TrackVia. And I have a couple of questions here. Jeremiah and I have a couple of questions here to help you kind of guide your talk track and presentation. But you can talk about how many apps you have, what problems did they solve for you, who uses the apps, and if they have any like cool functionality or anything that they do that you want to tell people about, right? So you can answer those questions. You can kind of go on a tangent, up to you. Also, the duration is up to you. If you just want to speak for 30 seconds about what you use TrackVia for, that's fine. If you want to go for 5 minutes as well, that's fine too. But if you're taking a little bit too long and we're trying to get to some other people, maybe we'll hurry it up a little bit. But it's up to you, the duration. And then after you've talked about your application, we'll give people a chance to ask questions. So please put questions in the chat. As somebody is presenting, you can chat through any questions you have for them about their apps, and then Jeremiah and I will kind of read those back to the presenter. And I already see a couple people raising their hands, so this is awesome. All right, and then after you're done talking about your applications and answering questions, you'll get a chance to spin this prize wheel. So I'm gonna flip over to another tab in the browser here and you'll see the prize wheel. It's a little bit hard to read as it's turning, but you'll see a lot of the things on here are swag, you know, water bottles, t-shirts, golf towels, coffee mugs. But some of the things on here are a little bit different than swag. Two things that the professional services team has been gracious enough to put into the prize wheel here. One is an IE Power Hour. Basically just, hey, meet with an implementation engineer for an hour and talk to them about your app, maybe get some suggestions, maybe they can help you solve a problem quickly during that meeting. So a pretty valuable hour that you can spend with an IE. And then also a 5-hour service package. I was a little surprised by that, but awesome. You'll get to work with an IE for 5 hours. Maybe there's a little bit of a larger project that you need some help with. You can use 5 hours of an IE's time. So yeah, I've got some good prizes from the implementation team. And then also, if you've been paying any attention to the TrackVia University, you saw recently that we launched tutoring groups. Basically, you can go through the on-demand content for learning about TrackVia, and along the way, meet with a tutor or a group to do check-ins and talk about concepts in more detail. But as you're doing as you're doing the on-demand content, you get to kind of do those check-ins periodically. So a free enrollment in a tutoring group. So 10 prizes up here. So first 10 people that share will get to spin this wheel and get some of these prizes. All right, did I miss anything, Jeremiah?
I don't think so. The only question we've gotten so far, though, is about where to find the hand for volunteering to speak. And it looks like, Tom, you were able to find that. But Derek, I don't know if you can call out where that lives.
Yeah, good question. I'm not, I think it must be in this little control panel that you get access to, but I see a bunch of people raise their hand so far, so it's in there somewhere. Maybe when the first person goes who's raised their hand, they can tell everybody else where to find the little hand raise symbol. All right. Awesome. And let's see, we'll go back to this PowerPoint presentation so everybody can see the format, and I'll kind of leave this up there. Again, thanks. I'll thank everybody in advance for sharing. Again, the more people that share, I think this is for you, so the more beneficial it's going to be. All right. So the first person that I saw raise their hand, let's just go with that. Let's go with them. Does that sound good? So Matt Cox, why don't you kick us off here? I'll see if I can get you unmuted. So you'll unmute. Let's see. Unmute. All right, so you should be unmuted. So why don't you say hello and tell us about yourself and the apps that you've built in TrackVia.
Oh, no pressure or anything there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I get to raise my hand, right? Matthew Cox. I'm currently with Bibio Ltd, though I do work for some other organizations under the Inside Workflows hat. So I've worn a few different TrackVia hats in my lifetime now with TrackVia, all what 6.5 years of it now or so. So started off just as a customer. We were looking for some kind of a platform to connect all the information in our organization. And I started building some stuff out in Access and making, fancier spreadsheets than just, oh, hey, look, we got a spreadsheet that tracks the information. And then it became a question of, what if Matt gets hit by a bus? And our organizational leader got tired of killing me every time he told this story. So he changed it to, what if Matt wins the lottery and leaves us? So I appreciated that.
Much better.
But
Yeah.
we got our first TrackVia application built out, and I was involved in the process and kind of started going, hey, I could do that. Well, no, I think we could do that. And so we ended up growing it and kind of changing it from within ourselves. So it ended up becoming a full ERP essentially that ran every aspect of our business, from scheduling homeowner appointments to, telling order entry what jobs they needed to enter and which ones were key, to telling, our estimators which jobs they needed to get done so that order entry could do their part. It also had a full field management application, so people in the field could, well, I guess I should start off, it was floor covering. So not rocket science, but there's many moving pieces. Like as you peel the onion back, there's more and more layers, and it gets more complicated as you go. But our installation crews in the field could be doing their work, and our field techs that oversaw those crews could be relaying information in, getting real-time updates on the status of houses, and all that information fed back into the office in real time then. At one point it was all, hey, yeah, I filled out that piece of paper and put it in your inbox last week, and well, what happened to it? To I hit save on my tablet and now you've got the information instantaneously. So it ran our entire organization, still does. Actually, I keep saying it like it's the past, but it was the first build. Full
Awesome.
HR suite as well incorporated into it, with time clocks and a PTO calendar and requesting system, employee reimbursements, all kinds of fun stuff like that that fed directly into accounting, so they could, have one place to kind of process payroll and not have to get 15 different items from different spreadsheets thrown across the organization and emails and everything else. So that was kind of that's the one I cut my teeth on. There have been several others since then. I make fun of the Salesforce people for drinking the Kool-Aid and being hardcore, and then I turned around myself and drank the TrackVia Kool-Aid. So
I promise Matt's not a plant in this webinar.
no, I'm not. I don't think I've ever actually talked to you guys outside of just the random questions I send in all the webinars. Now, some of the implementation engineers and help desk folks probably know me as the guy that just asks the most random off the wall app script questions and stuff like that. But hopefully they speak my name with kindness and not regret of why did I get that email from him.
I'm sure it's not the latter. That sounds like a huge undertaking for a first app there.
Well, it grew over time, and there
Yeah,
were other ones spiced in there as we went along.
gotcha.
But I mean that's the one that's closest to my heart, since it was kind of the first one I got started on. But I mean, I've built out full suites for like my father-in-law's heating and air company for their scheduling and field usage, quoting tools for automated machine companies. Like there's the possibilities are literally endless when you have a platform like TrackVia.
Yeah, a lot of that, and that's the whole reason we're doing this webinar, right? Let's see all the things that people are doing. It sounds like you're doing a lot of the things. Yeah,
I try to do all of the things, yes.
yeah, that's great.
It's really
All right, anything else to add, Matt? Any really cool piece of functionality that you want to tell people about?
I mean, a lot of the job imports we do are pretty cool with the app scripts, where to do imports, you have to have, admin rights, and people get worried about that. So I have like a separate application that's just got dummy tables in it that you can be made an admin on. You've got full rights. You can come in and you can delete everything out of it if you wanted, but it's not going to hurt the main application, because when you're doing those imports, it's in the background using the application scripts to say, okay, find this field, it maps everything. So if you have relationship fields, it matches those up. And you don't have to worry about, checking the box and saying, this is a relationship that maps to this and all that during your import process, because your template file and the file or the table I set up all have the same header. So it's drag, drop, click, 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 let it do its thing. So that's been a pretty handy one. That, and if you have something to do with pricing and things like that, having some pricing tables built out to automatically, generate pricing, whether it's like a product book we have that as well as a additional pricing for specific installers. So we have people that, go out and do the jobs, and some of them get paid more than the others because, they're in New York City. So there's additional cost versus the guy that's out here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, as far as, parking and all that kind of stuff. So
Yep.
With that, we can have specific pricing for specific, installers, not just the generic, oh, it's an install for this one company. It's an install for that company, but this guy's doing it, and it can add additional money onto it. So it completely automates the pricing process.
Great.
Those are some of the fancier ones.
Fancy stuff. Awesome. Okay, and then maybe Matt, you can answer the hand question for us. Where do folks find this hand symbol?
So when you've got your GoToWebinar pulled up, there's the main screen where you see Derek and Jeremiah up top, and then Derek's screen down below. But you should have a separate control panel somewhere. And if you don't see it anywhere, it's probably collapsed down and it looks like a little orange arrow with a microphone and a window. And then it kind of looks like a hand, but kind of not. So I don't know if that helps at all.
Okay.
Raise your hand is the bottom. It's the third circle down, the bottom circle.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so let's see. Anybody have any questions for Matt? A lot going on in Matt's TrackVia accounts. Yep. I haven't seen any questions come through for you, Matt, but we'll give everyone a minute here just to see if they do. All right. We do have a question from Tom, who also has his hand raised. So thanks, Tom. We'll get to you. And asking about how the dummy tables work. So how do the dummy tables send the data to your other apps?
So it's a separate application. So you have to go up, select to the the import application, and there I've just created tables with the key fields that we are importing. And from there, for one of them, it looks at the one set of information, finds it, and then in an app script, it does a map add record so that it creates a new record and saves it as a variable you can reference there. And it adds that job in, and then the rest of the fields behind those first 10 reference the child tables that are in the main application. So we have the first few fields creating the job, and then the rest of the fields create a job activity that are then added in as child records under that main job. So then we've got our job with the install, site surveys, shipping, all that information as individual sub jobs listed underneath it. So it's all in application scripts.
Got it. So you import into the table application scripts, take that data, send it into your production applications. Yep.
Yes. And it does do checks to make sure that all the fields map correctly before just throwing it into the wind and saying, oh, I hope it creates a record. So there is an error handling table. So it'll pop up and say, customer not mapped, or activity type not mapped, project manager not mapped. And you could go in and whenever it detects an update on any of those fields, it'll try the import again, or the application script again.
Very cool. Yeah. Awesome. I think that's all the questions we have for you, Matt. So let's give you a chance to spin this prize wheel here.
No whammies.
All right, let's do it. Ready?
Spin it.
This is the best part of the webinar, I think. Yeah, let's see. There it is, pen and notepad.
Wagon.
All right, so we'll follow up with you, Matt. Get your address, send you some TrackVia swag. All right.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna mute you now. Okay.
Okay.
All right, nice. Got an icebreaker. I was most worried about getting somebody to break the ice. I don't know, you know, it was worried nobody would want to raise their hand right away, but we've got some more. So let's go down the list here. We've got Melanie. Let's jump over to Melanie. So let's see. I'll see if I can lower your hand, Melanie, and I'll see if I can unmute you here. And you should be able to talk now, and I'll jump back here so you can look at the slide.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Derek. Hi, Jeremiah. Nice to meet you. I've dealt with Derek before, but not you, so hello.
You dealt with me, yeah.
Well, I guess that wasn't the most positive term, but they've been positive interactions, yes. So my name is Melanie Rosado. I work for a nonprofit called African Sisters Education Collaborative, ASEC for short, and we provide leadership training and higher education opportunities to Catholic sisters in Africa so they could, you know, let that trickle down and serve their communities better, provide better services to their communities, and also just become experts in their particular fields. So we use TrackVia to, basically it's like a two-pronged approach, I would say, to track all of the application and enrollment information. So we update each sister who is enrolled in any of our programs gets a profile the first time she ever fills out an application for any of the programs, even if she isn't accepted that time around. And then if she is accepted, we follow her through every process, and her student profile gets updated when she accomplishes a report, when she graduates. If she comes back for another program, you'll see that she's an alum. So we use it to track all of just educational enrollment information. I would assume very similar to any like regular kind of collegiate institution that would use a program like this. We're just a nonprofit, but we use it in the same way. And the other part of it is for all of our evaluation. So we have a lot of separate dashboards because each program gets evaluated at like an academic level. And those reports have to have all of the most up-to-date statistics on how many sisters we've served, you know, how like their success stories, if they've, you know, had any kind of particular accomplishments in their congregations and communities. So it tracks all the individuals' information as they go through their educations, but also is used for us to kind of be able to report on what's working and what isn't. And, you know, if we're going to maybe reevaluate something to provide a different kind of service or apply for more grants, things like that. So it's used internally for evaluation. And then it's also used to track all of the students and, you know, how many stay enrolled and graduate and like our retention and all things like that. So that's like our main app. And then we have a smaller separate app that is basically used as like a ticket system. So if anyone needs help with anything they're working on, whether we have like graduate assistants and things that kind of assist us with our data entry and things like that. So they can submit what we call a feedback ticket, which is just like a help desk ticket. And then it comes directly to me. I get an email, and you know we have the automations kind of built in there. So you know my department gets notified whenever we have a help ticket. And then there's like progress notes in there, and I can kind of update them if I need more information from them, and I can change the status of their ticket from, you know, new to under review to needs more information or completed. So we also have like that kind of small separate app. And I'm hoping that maybe, you know, when more people share, I'm hoping to this year build a full project management app for kind of other projects that the organization plans, but we now track in spreadsheets. So it's like if one department's working on something, they'll have a spreadsheet that will pull up at a meeting to try to kind of update everything. And I can kind of see that being much more accessible and easier to use and update if it's built into the platform we're already using. So I'm hoping to get some ideas if anyone else does project management in their applications. I'd love to hear about that too.
I think you're muted, Jeremiah. Maybe not.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, yeah, for you, Melanie. Hopefully someone does share on that, but I can speak to the use case of a project management app. It is a very common one amongst a lot of our team and users. So
Yeah, I hope it's not too much of a hurdle. Training is like a big part of my job now, like kind of getting everyone comfortable and acclimated, like to as confident as they possibly could to use the database for their individual roles. So I think there'll be a little bit of an uphill battle making sure everyone is comfortable using that project management app there, but I'm confident we'll be able to get there. But right now it's like a little bit more in the future project. I don't think we're quite ready yet.
Totally fair.
Sure. Maybe you'll win a 5-hour service package on your spin.
Oh, maybe.
So Melanie, the first app that you're talking about, you use the word "we" a lot. We track the applications and we track the analytics. Who is we? Who uses that app?
Yes. So so my position is the data manager. So I like oversee that everything's working correctly, and I do the builds and all of that. But we have a monitoring and evaluation unit. So that's like the department that I work in. So we have basically evaluators for each program. So there's 2 people in my department that are both like my superiors technically, but they would be the ones that are going in and doing the analytics and the evaluation based on the data that's in there. So they might contact me to build a certain type of view so they can compare information that they need to write their reports. So they're the people who write the reports. They use the database for that. And then I think I mentioned briefly that we have like graduate assistants. So they use TrackVia to support the data entry that the evaluators will then need. So they would enter applications in our forms that we have built. We track any kind of forms that a student might have to submit, like we have like a media permission form, things like that. So we know that we could use their information in a social media post or things like that. So our graduate assistants would use different parts of the database, but mainly it's the evaluators that use it, and then our graduate assistants that do our more standard data entry tasks.
Awesome. Cool. And any really cool piece of functionality or something unique that you want to tell people about?
I don't know if it's necessarily unique, but a part of the database that I like is I built a couple more simplified dashboards for some staff members who don't use the database as much as the people that I just mentioned. So like our marketing department sometimes uses it to double check information. If they have a picture and they need the caption and they only have the student's first and last name that's in that picture, but they want to know when they graduated and things like that, they can use the database to get that information from the student profiles. So I built a dashboard for the person who's in that position, and we left like a little blank shortcut panel because she wants to start using more like bar graphs and pie charts and things in like her visuals. So then she can submit feedback tickets to me saying what kind of chart she wants made with what information, and then I put the little shortcut on her dashboard so she can get to it really easily.
Very cool. It's an understanding that you have. She puts in the ticket and then it'll show up as a button in that that side panel. That's cool. That's great.
Thanks.
Awesome. Anybody have any questions for Melanie? Give everyone a second here to type something in if they have it.
This is the part that makes me nervous. Full disclosure, I'm just nearing on a year here. So I don't have quite as much experience as I'm sure some of the other people in this call. So
sounds like you've done a lot in here. That's good.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we don't have any questions. If you have questions, still feel free to shoot them through. All right, Melanie, thank you so much for sharing. Let's get you a spin on this wheel, huh? All right. Here we go. T-shirts. Do you already have a T-shirt?
Yeah, awesome. I'm gonna rep that around the office.
Great. Do you already have a T-shirt?
No, I don't.
Okay, good. Okay, good. We'll remove that one. Awesome. We'll reach out to you to coordinate that. Okay.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Melanie. I'll mute you. Okay. Next one I saw was, yeah, we got a couple more. William Manneberg. So I'll go ahead and put your hand down here, William, and I'll go ahead and unmute you. Jump back here. So I think you should be able to speak now. Let's see if that works for you.
Hey, look, I could unmute myself. I should have done that earlier. All right. I'm Bill Manneberg. I work at Honeywell. I'm Director of Procurement Operations for our project organization. Sorry, Melanie, I won't be talking about a project software or project management. I wish. I've been using actually TrackVia. This is the second company that I've been using it at. I built a bunch of apps at Heritage Crystal Clean about, I don't know, 7 years ago probably, when it was in classic mode. So here at Honeywell, I have a very specific use case. We get thousands of emails for request for support is what we call it. Actually, that's what our app is called. You know, whether it's create a PO, resolve an invoice, supply chain issue, you know, the whole gamut. We have about 10 different categories. I manage about 35 people all across the globe in 3 distinct regions, APAC, Europe, and the Americas. And my managers and myself are able to go in and look at, you know, how much work someone might have and be able to shift the incoming work to someone else who doesn't have as much as somebody else. It's also very efficient to move what we call between regions. We call them poles, but it's very efficient to move work if, you know, somebody's out on maternity leave or somebody's out sick or on vacation. We can move it to another pole rather easy. Then before we had the app, it was like, okay, this is all we do. These are the instructions. This is who you need to contact. Well, all that information is in here now. So it's very easy to say, hey, you're in charge of France today. Tomorrow you're going to be in charge of Korea. So that's kind of what we use it for. We've been using it since 2019. And I have to say that for low code, no code, it's evolved probably 5 or 6 times since then. And I've been working a lot with Matt Hubbard. The next evolution is automation, because honestly, the number one complaint I get from TrackVia is like, oh, I have to enter in another form. And here at Honeywell, we have a SharePoint site for everything. Like if you want to request to go to the bathroom or request to go on vacation or get an out-of-cycle payment, like I have probably 100 SharePoint sites where you go and you fill out a form to do something. So for the group that I support, I wanted one place for everything. So I've accomplished that. The next one is you don't even have to fill out a form anymore. You can just send an email to this email address. We'll use Workato, and then it'll just go into the system. So that's my next great hope for this.
And you felt like there's just a little bit of an easier user experience for just sending an email and then you getting it into TrackVia.
Yes. Yeah, because honestly, the amount of fields that they have to fill out, trust me, they're not a lot. But if they're going to all these other sites, I completely understand their frustration. And the main complaint was like, oh, I could just send an email just as fast as filling out the form, which is true. But to win over as many people as possible, so I can keep growing my army in TrackVia, that's what I decided. And it'll be really, really helpful too, because what I really want is any requests that come from SAP, I also want to go automatically into TrackVia, and we need to use Workato for that. So I'm all about Workato to get everything manual, automated in here, and then have my team go to work. Because the phrase I use a lot is, going into SAP and downloading, let's say, all my France stuff I have to do today, it's probably like a 5-minute thing. And then 5 minutes to do this, 5 minutes to do that. Mm-hmm. But as a team, we have about 200,000 tasks a year. So 5 minutes times 200,000 is way too much time. So that's, I wish I could rename the app 5 minutes because that's what I really want to do. But I like request for support.
Love it. And just for everybody else on the line, Bill mentioned Workato a couple of times. That is the integration platform that you can use to integrate TrackVia with other systems like SAP, like he mentioned, through like very similar drag and drop rather than coding integrations, right?
Yep.
Awesome. Any piece of cool functionality you want to tell people about? Unique.
The Workato thing is really what I'm completely stuck on. But and I could say, you know, and I try to preach this to everybody, especially here at Honeywell. The low code, no code thing. I mean, if you can do stuff in Excel, and I don't think anyone uses Access anymore, but you can make an app in TrackVia. So that's my selling point.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Bill. Anybody have any questions for Bill? I love to hear global use cases of TrackVia. It's always fun. No?
Yeah, it'll help me on time management, by the way, because I won't have to get up at 6 in the morning to see what APAC is finishing the day with. I could just go into TrackVia and look. So very helpful.
Definitely. Yep. Awesome. All right. Well, I don't think we have any questions. So let's have you spin here, Bill. We'll go ahead and do this. Get you something fun. There it is, the big ticket item, the 5-hour service package.
It must be my day.
Yeah.
Wow.
Awesome. Lucky winner. All right.
Wow.
So we will reach out to you about getting this set up. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. All right. I'm going to go ahead and mute you. All right. I also think next person that's had their hand up for a little while, Tom. Let's lower your hand, Tom. It's good to hear from you as well. It's been a little while since we've spoken. I hope things are going well, but you should be able to speak now. You might have to unmute yourself like Bill did.
Now I'm unmuted. Okay.
Awesome.
Welcome back. I know it's been a few months, but you look rested and refreshed, so that's always a positive.
Thank you.
My name's Tom Daher. Have been working with TrackVia for a long time, since like 2012, 2013. So like previously, we've seen the iteration from classic to new. And I have to say, I was really only given the keys to the kingdom about a year ago. So as I got into the guts, there's a lot of mess in the background, just where people were doing things. But, you know, as you guys know, there's multiple ways to do things in TrackVia. So there were a lot of things that were not done in the most, what I would say, following any kind of like IT or implementation best practices for, you know, making things clean, making things as, I don't know, elegant as possible. So
Sure.
That's a little bit of a pain point. But, you know, what we use it for, well, at first there were people grumbling saying we think we've outgrown TrackVia. And I said, I don't think so. That's really hard to outgrow TrackVia if you're utilizing all of the different features and applications, because it is so flexible. I use Salesforce with a previous organization, and obviously TrackVia is way easier to get in and do stuff with. And we had to hire all kinds of outside consultants to do all kinds of fancy coding to get Salesforce to function the way we wanted it to with TrackVia. It's been much easier. We have started to utilize it more as an enterprise resource type of hub. had a lot of people using Excel spreadsheets on their desktops for various different things. And that's a pet peeve of mine from an operations perspective, because the information isn't available to everybody all the time. Or somebody leaves, then there's like a secret, or if I need information to talk to a client about, but it's on somebody else's desktop in their Excel spreadsheet and they're out of the office for some reason, then it's harder to get the things. So we started bringing in a lot of those different assets into TrackVia in the forms of just table imports or apps to help with that. Primarily, we take in orders, and there's different kinds of orders. So one of the problems that was easily solvable, when I say easily, I had to watch a few Derek tutoring videos to talk about some different things, but certain types of events that we plan have a lot of moving parts and details. And we were just keeping everything in just like a paragraph box on the main order page. And you had to scroll through, there's only so much room, and it was getting very cluttered. So to break that out, I built a separate app for events and staffing. And so when someone enters an order, kind of following what some of the other people have said, when someone enters an order based on what type of order they are, there's certain criteria. There's an app script that runs in the background, and if it meets the criteria, then it automatically creates a record it creates an event record that has basically an explosion, if you will, to where all of the information can be expanded and much more easily tracked and looked at. And it took a little bit of time for adoption, but as people have started to use it, it's been extremely helpful. Tracking staff travel plans have to be made. We were able to create a field staff repository table that's linked so people can assign staff to different events. And then some of those child table fields feed back over to the parent order table. So some of the information is easily available. Also, we have a view at the bottom that links over to the event, so you can see the event records that are linked to the order records, so on and so forth. Just kind of some of that basic functionality. So there's quick access as well to some of those things. So that's been extremely helpful and useful. Also, a project I'm in the middle of now that I think some others have done very effectively is building like an employee portal so that staff have access to all of their vacation times and their raises or merit increases and when their next review date is, or different annual trainings that they might need to renew, to track all of that. And so it's been kind of a fun project to figure out, because of the way our PTO works, there's different benchmarks based on how long people have been at the organization. And so to work through using how to get that logic and math to work properly based on how long they've been here, what year it is, and subtract or add a year, different things based on calendar year, but it's coming along nicely. Using a flow for submitting time off requests, which I think when that's done, that's going to be probably one of the biggest staff facing benefits, is that they can use the app. They can just hit the flow button on the app in that field, and they'll be able to submit a time off request from their phone or iPad or wherever they are, versus having to send an email to a manager who might or may not get it. And then there's no real formal structure to approve or decline requests and to track all of that different information. So that's kind of where we are with it.
Awesome. Yeah. And then, so do you have just those two apps, Tom?
Oh, no, we have multiple apps. I mean, I built a supply chain app for the people who do inventory management things to keep track of different supplies and where they are. We have like a CRM app type thing where we keep, client accounts and different information about the accounts and, just some different information. We have, yes, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different apps totally. And one of the long-term projects that I really would like to do, that I've played around with a little bit for just some base functionality is really how to incorporate using barcodes. Like I've got to the point where I have a barcode scanner, and obviously the information will go into the fields, but it's how to really effectively incorporate that into TrackVia and use barcoding functionally for various different applications.
Awesome. And you'll see this on the next slide, but we are actually going to be doing the next webinar we're going to be doing on barcoding. So it'll be really relevant. Yeah.
Excellent. I just submitted that on the education request, so you can just close that one out.
Close it out. Nice. Great. Do we have a question or something, Jeremiah?
Yeah, we do have a question. So it looks like Matt Cox asked, if everyone has a login, then it is super easy to separate the info out so that only each individual can see their own info. And it looks like maybe there's more of a comment. The employee portals I have built have many of the functionalities he was talking about. It was a game changer for HR/accounting and also managers trying to manage who is off when. Yeah.
Agreed. Using the groups and the current user filters so that staff can only see their records, or managers can only see the records of their staff and their groups is definitely a key part of that.
Yeah.
Agree.
Sounds a little geeky, but I think that is my favorite part my favorite feature of TrackVia, being able to basically change the data for who's logged in, like dynamically. It's amazing. Yeah. Awesome. Anyone else have any questions, comments for Tom? Bless you.
I'll just give a shout out to the support desk too. They're awesome, and anytime I hit a roadblock and have a question, Scott and I can't remember the name of the other woman who answers most of my questions, are awesome. So
Yeah.
Nice. We will be sure to tell them that. Yeah, they are all rock stars over there.
I'm sure Scott will be like, "Oh, that guy."
Yeah. Sounds like you and Melanie are in the same boat.
Right.
Or was it? Yeah, no, it was Matt. It was Matt.
Yep.
Awesome. Let's 147. Okay, let's get you spin this wheel, and then we still have somebody with their hand up. So let's see if we can get to them. T-shirt, Tom. I think you have a T-shirt. Do you have a T-shirt?
I do have a T-shirt, but
Do you do you want to pretend to land in a water bottle?
Sure.
All right. I'll go ahead and close this. I'll write you down for a water bottle.
Or you can go the other way, actually, and pretend it landed on Power Hour.
I eat Power Hour. I don't know. We'll let. I think you're closer to water bottle.
I am. I'm kidding.
All right. Thanks so much, Tom. Thanks for sharing. I'm gonna mute you. And then let's get over to Keith. Let's see if we can unmute Keith here.
You got me?
Gotcha.
All right. I'm Keith Sosby. I work with Blood Assurance. We're a nonprofit blood bank based out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. So we're using TrackVia to get rid of a ton of paper forms. We're a highly regulated environment. And so as most of you would know, paper doesn't warn you if you write something wrong. And so keeping us in some tight regulation spots, being able to put some alarm fields like, hey, are you sure you want to save this kind of thing in there with the show how rules has actually helped out a lot. We've used it in a lot of ways. I've got a lot of stuff in motion that hasn't made it to production yet. I'm trying to track everything about our different sites, so far as when leases are due, how many square feet they are, fire extinguishers. A lot of our blood collection equipment has to be shown how often it went out of service. So if anything was wrong during a daily check, any kind of forms that were submitted from the manufacturer or repair team of what it took to fix it has to be on hand for an FDA inspection. I'm trying to think what else. Like during COVID, when the vaccines came out, they wanted something to figure out who had vaccination status because certain customers wouldn't let us on site without it. So that was one of the coolest things is they told me on Thursday morning they needed it, and Friday afternoon I said, here you go. So it was stood up and ready to go. So that was yeah.
That's an awesome story.
Keyboard was on fire there, but I got it done. But as far as some cool things, most of my cool things are up and coming. We're going to replace some IT and maintenance ticketing systems just to go full TrackVia using Workato to take requests through email. Hoping to pull some data out of some other applications so that TrackVia can be the one spot for, you know, some charting and reporting, and I think it was anything else I had. I've got a backlog of great ideas that are still, you know, still being sketched out, but I really like this platform. So,
is your backlog of ideas itself an application in TrackVia?
not yet, but it ought to be.
It should be.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, the COVID story. I think I've actually heard a couple of our customers say they built COVID applications to track that kind of stuff. That's it's awesome to hear that it can be, you know, when things pop up out of nowhere, you know, to solve issues like that or challenges. Cool. So a lot of apps there. Cool things up and coming. Tickets sounds like more Workato integrations with emails, more form data collection. So awesome. Anybody have any questions for Keith? All right, you're off the hook on questions.
I'm not that interesting. Awesome.
Let's see what you got coming. There it is.
I like it.
There's the IE Power Hour. It's probably Jeremiah will reach out to you on that one, I think.
Okay.
Yep. Good to hear from you, Keith. I'm gonna go ahead and mute you. All right. Anybody else? We have a couple of minutes left. If anybody else is in there wanting to share to win some of these prizes, or just to, you know, just to help your fellow TrackVia. All right, yeah, there we go. We got Darren. Let's go ahead and unmute you, Darren. And you're live. You might have to unmute yourself as well.
Here we go. I've been using TrackVia since about 2010. We created a database to kind of mirror what Salesforce actually came around to do when I was running a sales and marketing company. And then I moved careers and I moved into petroleum marketing regarding diesel fuel and oil and gas. And we had a massive spreadsheet, and we integrated TrackVia back in 2013 to manage all of our day-to-day transactions. From that point, we also do a lot of, we're commodity brokers, so we have to track per se gallons versus a hedge, which is in the commodity market. And we're able to track all of that seamlessly through TrackVia, and our clients know exactly their price per gallon at any given time, combining their inventory costs as well as their hedge values. So we have a number of clients who use it on a daily basis, companies like Costco, and some larger companies that you know, move a lot of fuel. Recently, we just increased our capacity to tie in pricing in a market by supplier, by product, and associate that with how many gallons are left for that particular price. My client moves about 15 million gallons a month. So now he's able to optimize from a dashboard how much fuel they have left at a certain price. So when you're making pennies a gallon, it really adds up to, if you could save a penny, you can make a lot of money on that kind of volume. We're doing some automation right now. We've been working with an outside source to create a portal where we're able to dump data from a different site, from one of a industry site, into a portal that translates into TrackVia and populates all this information. So we're working now with an outside source to actually automate that process so that it's just running all by itself. It's just every half hour it will run the spreadsheet, save it, drop it in the portal, and the portal will then input the data into TrackVia. It will be every half hour it will happen. You're talking about somewhere about 200 transactions a day with basically it's deleting it and then it's adding. So it's deleting and adding. So we're not adding all those records. So we're just basically deleting and adding. So we've been trying to find new ways to automate, and that's one of the things I was working with our sales person Mike with to try to work on some of these things. But we've never used Ricotta or anything like that. I don't know if we have a real need for it, but we're working with some outside sources, consultants who help us understand how the integration with TrackVia works, and we've been pretty satisfied with all that whole process. So
awesome. Yeah, I'm surprised at how many integrations examples have come up so far. Sounds like hooking into other systems is common theme.
Yeah, because I mean, there's so many different places that people get data from, and yours is a great, repository for the ability to synthesize that data into meaningful information for, our clients have access through their dashboards to see where things are at any point in time.
Yeah.
So it's
and
been
I love that you give your clients access to the system. They can log in and see the data as well. That's great.
Yeah. So
cool. Okay, just for the sake of time, any last thoughts that you want to throw in on your apps? No? Any questions for Darren? No. All right. I thought I saw somebody else with their hand up. We're running out of time here, so we can stay on. I think Jeremiah and I can stay on, and anybody else that wants to stay on can. If you have to drop, thank you so much for joining. But I think I saw, Mike has his hand up, so we'll see if anybody else that wants to speak still. Feel free to stay on and speak, and we'll get to you. Okay. So let's go ahead and get Mike unmuted here. And yeah, I have to spin the wheel. Thank you, my team here. Nicole, spin the wheel for Darren. Darren gets the tutoring groups. Nice. Write that down. Congrats, Darren. I'll follow up with you, okay?
Thank you.
All right, and then Mike, you should be unmuted.
Hi, Derek. Hey, Jeremiah. Mike Dalton with Guided Innovation Group, and so we've been building out applications using TrackVia for our clients to manage the new product development process, kind of all the way from the front end on, hey, new ideas are coming in, new insights when people are out doing discovery work, and then following that thread all the way through the innovation process. You may recognize the term stage gate process, which we've built out a full stage gate process in TrackVia, and then finishing with, okay, now we're actually selling these products. So how do we've managed to actually connect the forecasts that were originally developed at the front end. Here's how much we think we're going to sell of how much these new ideas could deliver in revenue, actually tie them into ERP and make comparisons and say, yeah, here's what we actually delivered versus what we said. One of the things I wanted to touch on was, Derek, your comment about your favorite part of one of your favorite parts being the ability to use user groups, and the folks in customer support were really super helpful in helping us figure out how to use that to do so we can have a manager of a particular group only sees their team's projects, and then their people only see, and like maybe their product managers would only see then the projects that they own, right? So that they're not seeing everybody else's projects. When they go into their dashboard, they're just seeing the flows. They're only seeing numbers on the flows showing you that they've got something to do. Mm-hmm. If it's tied to them directly, right? So they can come in, look at their screen and say, oh yeah, I've got nothing to do here, move on, go do some work on something else, right? Or they say, oh yeah, I need to update a forecast, or I need to submit these documents for a gate review or whatever, right? They can look at it based on that user login, which is really a very, very cool feature to be able to do that. So I just wanted to, since you had mentioned that earlier, I wanted to bring that up. The other thing we've been doing, we found that there are a number of applications, at least in this particular space, where we've really had to move to microservices. We sort of outgrew app scripts because we've got records, and I'll give you an example. One of them is doing 80/20 analysis, right? And that's sort of like figuring out how much of your products and your customers, who's buying 80%, which is usually a very small percentage of your result. A very small percentage of your customers are buying almost the lion's share of your products, and usually same thing. A small percentage of what you're selling is delivering most of the revenue. It's just the way things always work out. But it means you have to be able to look across records to do that, do a lot of cumulative kind of calculations. And so we've used some microservices to do some pretty cool stuff there to actually do an entire 80/20 analysis without having to use Excel spreadsheets, which it's not rocket science to do it in Excel, but it is, every month when you get an updated ERP data, or however often you want to update it, all we have to do is push a button and it recalculates your last 12 months of 80/20 data instead of having to go back in and go through what's typically an hour or two of work in a spreadsheet. Yeah. So pretty so fun stuff.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love to hear the Workata of taking some of the burden off of the application in some way, right? I've seen that a couple of times. Yep. Great. Thank you very much. Let's get you a spin on the wheel. Running a little bit over here, so definitely got to make sure you get your prize though. Let's see. Are you a golfer?
I am.
Awesome. So there you go, Mike. Get a golf towel. We'll follow up with you. All right.
Thanks.
Cool. All right. So I don't think we have any more hands. A lot of people are dropping. So just to kind of wrap things up here, thank you everyone for sharing. We heard a lot of good use cases, a lot of fun stuff. Sorry, Melanie. Only pseudo, I think, project management, but that's okay. For any of you who want a prize, we'll be reaching out to coordinate that. Next webinar, we're doing a deep dive into barcodes, which is a really cool feature of TrackVia that is primarily a mobile feature, allows you to scan barcodes and generate barcodes, and we'll be diving into that. And then, of course, we've been recording this, and we will post it on the TrackVia University website soon, usually within a couple of hours, definitely within 24 hours. So you should be able to rewatch it, find it there. And we always appreciate it if you could fill out the survey when signing off today. Just a quick couple of questions. Anything to add, Jeremiah, before we jump?
No, appreciate everyone's time and everyone adding. And yeah, please reach out to anyone at TrackVia related if you have questions that came from this webinar.
Absolutely. We're always here to help. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.